Hi, everybody. This is Elizabeth Clare Brewington. We are here with our sponsor, Sharon Linen Fordham, who has sponsored this section. And she's written a book, and I'll make sure that you have the link so you can watch her video because she's given us some very important statistics from CDC, as well as talked about how important it is to teach our children self-confidence and have an open household where a child can come to you and talk about almost anything. And
Yes.
I have another author now, Betty Cooper, who's written 6 books. And I've actually read most of them and cried my eyes off. Um, and they're available everywhere that Amazon is available. I'll make sure that you have all the links to her books. Betty is a plus size model. She's a spokesperson for abuse and human trafficking and all these topics. She's spoken at numerous conferences and she's in one of these amazing books as well as one of these very important people. So we're very fortunate to have her here today because she's extremely busy. She's always traveling and speaking and doing all kinds of great work. So Betty, tell us your testimony. And as Ramona said, thank you for giving us your time and
Yes.
and telling us your story. We
Yes.
appreciate it so much.
Hello, as you know, my name is Betty Cooper. Thank God that we are here. Oh, Sharon, I really loved your testimony.
Thank you.
And I was about to cry because I know where you're coming from.
Thank you.
When I was a little girl, I was 8 or 9 years old. My uncle touched me. As you would say, the family was all together. And
Mhm.
my dad asked me to go into my room to get something. And I went into the room, it was dark, and my uncle grabbed me and started hunching me. And he was pressing himself on me. And I have a big mouth because I don't hide nothing. If I see it, I'm gonna tell it.
Mhm.
And I told it. I told my mom. When I got away, I told my mom. She whispered to my daddy, your little whore
Oh my
just
God.
accused my brother of
No.
touching her. And my dad, being he was called the butcher, he told me, he said, I want you to come here. He called me Annette. He didn't call me Betty. He said, Annette is my middle name. And he grabbed me up in front of everyone and by my neck. He said, did you lie on your uncle? I said, no, sir, I did not. He said, so your mother said that you lied. So is she lying? I knew not to say yes. He took me in the room and took all my clothes off and then beat me. He beat me. I couldn't move because he had me up by my neck, beating me.
Oh God.
And my uncle laughed. Most of the people saw the whooping that I got, and I was bleeding.
Mm.
And he punched me in my nose, he just started choking me while I couldn't breathe. When he let me go, I slid down the wall. My mom had 10 children. I'm the second oldest of those children.
God.
And I watched my uncles molest my sisters, but no one believed us. And they didn't want to get a whipping like I got a whipping.
Mhm.
But every Friday, my dad would come home and he was like, I want you to strip. All 10 of y'all stand in the line, take off all your clothes. And he'll
Oh God.
start beating us, bloody beating us.
No.
We were beat so bad, I watched my brothers laying on the floor like he was telling us to do the push-up. And when they get up, he would just start beating them, just beating them. And tears was falling on the wooden floor because we didn't have carpet during that time.
Right.
And he told them to pick up the tear and they couldn't pick it up. And he's a
Oh
black
my
belt. Daddy was a black belt. He began to break bones. He
no.
began to take us by our head and hold guns to our head, put
My
it in the back of our head and said, how bad do you want to live? We wanted to live.
God.
And I watched my sister and I watched my brothers. We couldn't speak to each other in the house. We had to look at each other. When we went to school, we had to tell each other, if you look me in my eyes, follow me out the back door. You know, that's the getaway.
Mm.
So we did that for a while. But even to this day, my mom still say he may have molested other children, but he didn't molest my children. So I still believe him. She told me that 30 days ago.
Wow.
And I still stood her and I told Daddy gone now. But before Daddy left, he got sick. One of the brothers been waiting to beat him. And he found his chance to hit him upside the head with something and bring him down. But they waited for many years. And for some reason, I learned to forgive my father. I went to church. I talked to God. I said, I know you have to love me because he told us no one will ever love us. We was taught that love could not be spoken in their house.
God.
That means we weren't able to have a relationship. We couldn't even tell our mother our period had came on. We had to hide that. And then when all the tissue got rolled up in our panties, she was like, oh, you nasty. You're nasty.
Mm.
Then when I turned 18, we never dated, but he beat us all the way up to that time I was 17 years old. Ooh, one day I went to the church and I said, I need to find more than what these people are saying about me and my siblings. So I went to the church and we had beautiful voices where we could sing and we sung as a group at the church. And I talked to the pastor. He said, you still got to forgive him. And sometimes what the hardest thing is, no matter how bad my story is, people would tell me, still, that's your mama. She gave you life. And I sit there and I wonder, if she didn't want us, why not have herself fixed or give us away? But it was nowhere to give because I watched my whole neighborhood. All the people that stayed in our neighborhood was her sisters and brothers. The uncles molest all the children.
God.
It was nothing that we could talk about. She was sleeping with my grandmother's husband. And he thought half of us was his. Until one day, Daddy grabbed a gun and said, I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna kill you. I know what you're doing. But when I turned 18, I never dated, couldn't have company. We didn't have any company. I wanted to go to the North Carolina State Fair. My mom said I could go. She had met a lady from the Church of God of Prophecy, and the lady was gonna pick me up. I was 18, right there. Foolish. If you receive nothing but negative and foolishness, that's all you know.
Mm-hmm.
It had to be God to come in and send people. They didn't allow preachers to come to the house. They didn't allow anyone to come to the house. We could all stand out there peeping out the door because we weren't allowed to go nowhere but to the schoolhouse. And we had to have the whole family to walk you to the store around in the neighborhood. So my mom had signed up a thing at the hospital because one of my brothers had got sick. And she said that this lady was going to pick me up to take me to the North Carolina State Fair. That was big for me because I'd never been nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I got in the car with this lady. And when I got in the car with this lady, she said she was a minister and she was going to stop by her brother to get the money. I sat in the car because I knew that I was not allowed to go into no one home, not a man home. I was sitting there waiting for her. She motioned for me to come. I said, no, can't come into your brother's house. When I went in, she stepped out the door and the door was locked.
Oh my God.
It was set up for him to rape me, to show my daddy that I was no good, that I wasn't a virgin. He had to have virgin. Everybody had to be virgins. I was raped within seconds with a knife around my neck. I was changed like you leading a dog with chains on your neck. I was changed around my neck. I was changed on my hands and my legs. And I couldn't come out of that little room. But 3 months later, somehow or another, I was praying to God, let me go home. And I was so silly. My daddy told me a story one day. He said, if you get caught into something, I'll be there. My soul coming to get you. For some reason or other, I thought his soul was going to come and get me. He was going to walk through the wall. And I'm waiting on for him to walk through the walls. But then I called on Jesus. Hey, hallelujah. I called on Jesus because one day the man just decided, I'm going to kill you. I said, let me ask you a question. Why me? He said, your mama sold you for $500. That's all you was worth to her.
Oh
She
my
wanted to show
God.
your daddy that you want no good, that you're going to go back pregnant because you was a virgin when I touched you. And when you
Oh,
go back, he's not going to have you in his house. And he was right. But let me tell you about that day. It was a police officer in the road directing traffic. And a man named John, white guy, he kept hitting the wall. He said, that door is unlocked. The police is out here. He been listening for my cries for 3 months. He had been listening for my cries. When I went to the door, I said, it's a trick. But the Holy Ghost let me know it's not a trick. Run for your life. I took off running from that little room. I was running so fast that I grabbed the little police officer and he went down on the ground and he was like, what in the world is going on? Why did you just do that? Blood was all over my face, one of my teeth. He had pulled one of my teeth out. He had
oh
hit me
my
so hard,
gosh.
the teeth fell out. My nose was broke, my jaw was broke. I said, a man by the name of CW had me over here for 3 months raping me, and I don't know where I'm at. He said, where
Mhm.
is your people? I knew my mama phone number. And he told me, he said, there go a little phone book. He said, I'm gonna walk with you over there. He called back for backup. The man decided to come back. I said, there he go. I pointed at my hand. I said, here he come back. And they had units all over the place looking for him. When I called my mom, she said, you can't come back here. You're not a
Mm,
virgin. She said, you're not a
mm.
virgin, but I'm gonna come and get you. She was there within 30 minutes. She took me home, and all of them had to have a family meeting. They said that I won't clean enough to come in the house. I was 3 months pregnant.
Oh my God.
And they told all my siblings, it's 10 of us, everybody was standing there. He said, we're gonna let this piece of garbage in,
Mm,
but she's not good enough to come into our home. So we need a vote of how many that should say that she could come home and just stay a little while. Oh, glory. They had their face turned to the wall. And I had to walk through and look at him. No one could look upon me because I was ashamed. I had shamed the family. I was dirt.
mm.
He said, you pregnant, aren't you? I said, Dad, I don't know what pregnant is. He said, what do you call me? I said, Dad. He said, don't you ever call me that. You don't
Wow.
call me that. And you don't call that woman your mother. So they voted that everybody raised their hand that I could come home. But they took down the bed where I could sleep on the floor.
Mm.
And I said, thank you, Jesus. At least I don't have to be raped today. I don't have to be beat today. But then I walked from one nightmare to another nightmare. Then when I had a baby, he said, better not be no girl, because can't no girls come in my house. It was a boy, 10-pound boy. They took the baby. I heard my mama negotiating. She said, well, won't no girls, so it's another $1,000 for this boy.
Mm.
To the man that had raped me.
Oh my
And then she
God.
taught my son that I wasn't nothing. She told him I wasn't nothing, that I couldn't touch him. She raised him as her own. And then one day I told him, I said, I'm your mother. And when I told him that, he kicked me. He cussed me. He was about 2 or 3 years old. But see, I didn't go to God no more. I went to the liquor bar and the drug dealers. And I
Mm.
was on crack cocaine because they told me they never tell the story. And I wrote Through Life's Storm, There is Still Hope and Victory, Volume 1, 2, and 3, The Healing Hands of Jesus, are my
Mhm.
first 4 books. I
Oh
wrote
my
my story. And I sent the strips to my father. He said, it's just like water pouring on my back. I don't care.
wow.
He said, but it went out. And I done been to Hollywood. I done been with Angel Network. I've been with Voice Media. And one producer looked at me. He said, you know what? You just blessed to be here. You supposed to tell your story. So
Mm-hmm.
when I went to the meeting, I found out other sisters was raped by the same uncle during the
Oh,
same time he molested me. But I'm gonna tell you, I put it at the altar. And my mother to this day, my mother shot at me twice. My mama just shot at me about 3 years ago. She sent one of my brothers to kill me, the one I sent to college.
Oh my
Right
God.
now, he's on death row. That brother is on death row. He's supposed to be playing football for the New York Giants. He didn't want that. He went back to the streets to sell drugs with my other brothers. They became killers. I don't know if you look up the Jenkins family from Clayton, North Carolina, you're gonna see a lot of murderers.
because
That's what they became. They were very cold and they were taking people's lives. And I had no other choice but to turn them in. I turned everyone on me. They my brothers, but I turned them in because that's somebody else's child.
Right.
He got 3 life sentences for taking 12-year-old, 13-year-old and putting them on the street to prostitute. And he would beat them and choking them. One of my brothers. I had to help him on his way because he needed to be off the street because he burnt down my home. He shot up my home. My mother sent the drug dealers to kill me, but I'm still here.
Right.
She asked them to kill me. Make sure that you shoot her in the face, in the chest.
Oh my
But I'm
God.
still here. I'm still here. So I just when I could tell my story, people ask me, say, well, how do you smile? Because God turned my heart around. Because this heart was just mad. I was mad with the world. I'm 61 years old. And now the same child that did not accept me as his mother, he said, Mama, I love you. I love you.
That's awesome.
So that's my testimony. I could have told more, but that's my testimony. So when you've been molested or raped or somebody had touched you wrong, I'm like this. I was beat all my life. And when you see something like that, it do something to you. And I said in one of my books, I cannot watch someone hurt a child. I'm gonna say something. I have to say something because they scared to say it. And sometimes I did do it in the past. I spoke up for some children. They said, well, no, ma'am, it didn't happen. When social service got involved, they said, well, Miss Cooper, they said it didn't happen. I said, child, will tell you it didn't happen because they're gonna get a whipping. And I helped a lot of children when I first wrote my books. I had to go to the streets to see about these children. And when I tell my testimony, they'll be like, well, you don't understand where I'm coming from. I said, I'm going to let you tell your story and you allow me to tell my story.
Right.
And by the time we finish praying, to God be the glory. That's all I can tell you.
Oh my goodness. That is something that, I was not expecting that.
no, neither was I. And when I
My
met Betty for
God.
the first time, I was like, my goodness. And Betty and I have been friends now for
Yes.
almost 4 years, long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Been a long time. Yes. I've been
Awesome.
so busy lately. I travel a lot. But
Mhm.
lately, the last 2 years, I kind of got sick and my body went down and I had to take care of me.
I know we met her at Starbucks, and Elton and
Yeah.
I had chills
Yeah.
listening to her story.
Yeah.
And we came home and, we couldn't stop talking about it. But it's important that we hear these
Yeah.
stories. It's
Yeah.
important that we get these books. It's important that we
Yes.
teach our children. I mean, in your situation, I would just say run, get into a
Yes.
foster home, or just
My
get out
God.
of that whole scenario. And
Yes.
children can do that now. Children
Yes.
can
Yes.
bail themselves out of
Yes.
terror, and they don't have to suffer like this
Right.
anymore. But you probably could have saved your brothers too if they had been in good homes. So
Yes.
run. I mean, I would
That's
tell
right.
a child,
You have
run.
to
Yeah,
run. Run for your life. Just run for
absolutely.
your life.
Oh my
Run for your
God.
life.
But I refuse to
Um,
let anyone hurt children. Sometimes
Right.
I know
Sharon,
how you feel, Sharon. Sharon, when you
Mhm.
said that you couldn't say nothing, I felt dead.
Mhm.
I've been there too. I've been on that road too.
Mhm.
the big thing is nobody will believe you. I mean,
That's
even
true.
if you came from an excellent home, an
Yes.
educated home, a rich home,
Yeah.
whatever it is, rich, poor, medium. I mean, the story is the same every time.
Mhm.
Yes.
So
Yes.
so we'll keep talking about this, and we do a women's conference every year. So Betty was one of our keynotes last year, and so we'll do that again in March, and we'll
Wow.
make sure that we will have this as a very big topic.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And last year we did war because we had one of our authors, and she's in Bosnia right now. If you're on LinkedIn, she's sharing some amazing photographs. But she wrote a book, Nirmina's Chance, and that was a very good book too. So we were talking about war and Ukraine. But
Yes.
we'll go back to this now that we have Sharon and Betty. And thank you,
You're
Ebony, for
welcome.
sharing your story as well.
You're so welcome.
So
Yes,
back
you're
to you, and then we'll get you some healing with Julie. All right.
Amen.
So back to you, Ramona. Close us out.
Yes,
Thanks, Betty.
Betty.
You're more than welcome.
Betty,
I gotta get your books.
I don't think there are words enough that I can use to describe how I felt when listening to to what you went through.
I
To think
know.
that a human being can
Yes.
do something like that to another human
Mhm.
being. A parent can do that to a child.
Right. God.
No amount of rationalization or justification. One might say, well, that person must have been clinically insane. But
Yes.
nothing justifies this. And also nothing justifies society to stand back and watch.
Yes.
But what's really a spiritual miracle is your ability to stand and talk about what you went through and to help
Yes.
others.
Yes.
And the fact that you're able to forgive,
Oh,
that's,
yes.
that's a
You have
miracle.
to.
And thank you for being such a spiritual role model for us. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Virtual hug to all of you. Yeah. So yeah, virtual hug, and thank you for sharing. So you're watching Brightside Global Trade. We talk about trade. It's not always about money and finance. It's about human beings. And in this world where money has become so important, it's necessary to have these conversations. So join us on Facebook, Instagram. Write us a comment. Tell us how you're feeling, and make sure that you're with us when we do another one of these. But thank you
Yes.
so much.